Welcome to today's Flex webinar. I am your host, Marcus Merritt. Today, I wanted to do a kind of just update of what's been added to Flex5 recently in the last few patches. I realized the last one of these we did was early November, so about 2.5 months ago. It's been like 5 patches if you include the latest patch. And I want to just kind of highlight some of those big things that have happened in there, and then again leave a chance for people to ask some questions. One caveat I want to make really quick is there was a little bit of a delay issue with the patch that was supposed to be today. So 0.34 is supposed to be today's patch, and there's going to be a minor delay. I've been promised it's 24 hours, so you'll have it by tomorrow. That kind of thing. I apologize for that, but you will still get it. I'm in a system that's updated to that already, and I'll be able to still demo those features, but you won't see them until probably either later today or tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world. So kind of keep that in mind, but we will get that fixed. Okay, with that, let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. So here's the biggest thing is in the patch that's supposed to be today. So again, you won't see this right away. But my favorite update in this is that if I go to a scanning screen in Flex5, so we say, oh, I'm going to go here and I've got this show I need to prep. We now have a Workbench menu over on the right side. So now you had that in Flex4, so that's kind of similar. We don't have all the features or functionality that's over there in Flex4. We're still working on some of that. But there is a couple key things to update and mention in this. So the key most important is right now it's 3 icons still working in kind of the same way that Flex5 overall works for our right side menu, where you have your pop in and pop out. So I can get the project tree and see what's going on there. I now have the ability to run reports. Now, one important thing is in Flex4, on this, I run reports by, you have the ability to, on the pull sheet, run the pull sheet reports. And once you finalize, it then populates another section with a line dividing them where you can run the manifest reports. In Flex5 currently, that is not going to happen. This is only going to run against the pull sheet even once I start scanning things. The positive, though, is we have the easy way to go and jump to the manifest once it's been created, and then you can run the reports from there, okay? The next thing with that is a big improvement, though, from Flex4 that we didn't have is we now also have the ability to run workflow actions, okay? Now, a lot of your systems, if you go to look at this, you're not going to see any workflow. A lot of these, even this one like here that says prepped automation, these are generally in a hidden status, a hidden state, and you won't see them. But some people may have added something like a shipped workflow for after they mark it as prepped, they just want to manually say, once we've got it loaded on the truck and it drives away, whether it's our truck or a rental that somebody comes and picks up, we want to be able to tag, this has left the building. So you can't make changes to it anymore, it's gone, kind of thing. And you'd be able to do that from here. Similarly, sometimes people want to have one to be able to send out an email or flag the project manager, especially maybe on a return page of like, hey, we've got it returned and it's 99%, but we're missing something. And I want to flag the sales guy to bother the customer about that because we leave that in his responsible hands. Well, we could have that here rather than me having to go back out to the regular edit page, which in Flex4 I would have to do. So this to me is kind of the biggest thing with this that I really appreciate this add. And it may cause some of you to want to think through your workflows and add some additional options because you have that ability for guys to be able to do that from here. Now, keep in mind, this is always going to be based on that permissions. You can set permissions to say some of your people can't run it, or if they don't have the ability to manage project elements, be the same thing if they don't have the ability to manage the finalizing or unfinalizing, they can't run workflow options. So we can still control that. If you're worried now that your lower end staff are going to do that, you can keep them from running workflow if you want to choose to do that. Okay, so that's that kind of key thing there. While we're on this page, a couple other quick improvements. A lot of other people have mentioned this, and I definitely had a deal with this, but you'll notice that we still have just the lock icon for where you hit to say finalize or unfinalize, but we've reversed it because it makes more sense to me. So it is showing what the current state is, not the state it's going to be moved into. Now, when I hover, it is going to say what the clicking action will do. So it does say, if I click this, it's going to finalize. But when I'm not hovering over it, it's saying this is currently unlocked. See, it's unlocked, it's not finalized. Okay. There's some discussion of some people still wanting a word, and we're just not sure that it's really necessary once people get comfortable. But yeah, to me, the icons were always backwards, and it bothered me. And so we had that internal fight, and I was able to get that changed in that way. Okay. One next thing really quick, and I'll just demo this. It previously was working that when I started scanning, it would not automatically load the manifest tab and you'd have to force a reload. We've gotten that repaired. So now if I go in, oh, is there just grabbing some random pull sheet? Of course, there's not really any items in here. Hey, there's something on that. I just need one. So it now works that as soon as I get the one, that manifest will automatically page load, and it's there, so I can automatically switch over to it rather than having to force a reload. Some of you may have noticed that. That's working a little better there. Similarly with that, and let me hide this, it was not properly loading the last known location information previously, and that is properly loading. With that, if it also made sure we've added these hyperlinks, so you could click to open more specifically to the item, or if it was coming straight from some other show and you were showing that, oh, it didn't get returned, you could click that element and open straight to that to manifest. So those are some little improvements that we got onto there to get this a little better. Because of these items not here, it'd be harder to show, but we've also got it properly. When we get this to be 100%, it automatically pops up and says, do you want to finalize, just like it does in Flex4, asking you that. You still can cancel and not do it, but if you want to, you can go ahead and do that. So those are kind of the key things that we got into those scanning screens fixed. And like I said, to me, the big fix that I really, really appreciate is this workflow, because I always had that problem of you then had to go to the tree, go open it in the edits page. There I could run the workflow, and that just always seemed like a bit of a pain, an extra step that was not necessary in that. Okay, so we've got those. In the next thing, so I wanted to talk a little bit about some things on some inventory items that have been updated. We got, I think, a little more detail block information loading here, not anything too critical in that, but some things kind of nice. One thing that's kind of nice is it does properly work. This has been the case for the long time where people could go to the item and click on something here and just kind of double click to open it. But we're like, if we're adding hyperlinks for all these places, we've made it so the barcode is now a hyperlink, and I can open it with just a single click if necessary on the barcode. I could still click the serial number, and that would be a double click, something like that, but I can just single click the barcode itself if I want to go that way. Okay. One other little thing with this, and it was kind of just silly, I don't know why it wasn't, but previously I couldn't highlight this barcode number. If I wanted to highlight, to copy that, to try to paste it up here, I couldn't select it. It actually still is an issue where I can't, you see here, I can't select this. We have that on the list to get fixed. I don't know why that has not been yet, but we have at least so you can copy here, just like I can copy this. But it was even, there were just some different places where I couldn't properly copy the text in here if I wanted to paste it somewhere else. And we're trying to make sure more of that text is copyable if you have a need for that. With this, another nice little improvement is if I now go on this serial unit to add a new serial unit, you'll see that it now auto-populates the model number and the purchase cost in here based on what's on the model item. And that's a minor improvement from Flex4. Flex4 was set that if I tabbed through or clicked into those fields, it would populate, but it wouldn't populate until I got over to that field. And we're like, we should just assume I want it to populate that. Now, if for some reason I got this one for a deal, or I got this one less expensive or more expensive, I can still edit the number before I add the new unit. but we should just go ahead and default that population. So we've got that updated. Before that recent fix, it was actually not populating at all. Even if I did click into the field or tab down to the field, now it's auto-populating in that. With that, let me refer to my list really quick here. In just the note of kind of the hyperlinks, I've mentioned that there's just a bunch of different places that we've kind of got that more fixed. It might not be everywhere, but we've really tried to make a lot more where anywhere the barcode of something shows up, that's a hyperlink to help you jump around. Or if you're getting a container, none of these are currently in a container, but a container, or if it's on a location for a thing, we're just trying to make sure a lot more of those are properly hyperlinks to help you jump around the system if that's what you need. With that, similar, but not as a hyperlink, but if I have things in a content, so in this I've made this serialized model with accessories, and I put in here some accessories, a cable, maybe I always say, hey, we want to bring a certain snake with this. This should now work, that I can double click to open that item to go get information about it from there, and that was previously not possible. I don't know if that works on suggestions or storage requirements yet. It doesn't, and I'm going to discuss that and see if we can get that in addition, because I think that should be very similar to that content. I want to be able to jump and open this and get more information about it. So we'll highlight and discuss that. Okay, that's the main thing about inventory items that I want to highlight here. Related to it, I did just want to mention briefly that we did get added the inventory maintenance procedures page. So if you want to edit or add additional maintenance procedures in your system, you can now do that in Flex5. I'm going to go more into this in the future, and I just want to give you kind of just the briefest of preview that we've been working on a feature that I know people have been asking for a long time, and it's kind of our first big feature that we've kind of working on in this Flex5 development. That's really a big improvement and a big change of adding things, because we know it's a feature we really need to get. But we've been working on scheduled maintenance procedures, the ability to set a maintenance procedure to say, this needs to be done again in 1 month, in 6 months, in whatever like that, and to have it help to flag you to check back on that item, okay? I don't want to give any more information than we're working on that, but we should be releasing that in 1 to 3 patches is what I'm hearing, probably 1 or 2, but I want to always put a little bit of caveat of who knows, little issues run up. In kind of just an early sort of beta test, just like this, but it will release to people, and I will do a webinar to cover how that feature works, what's there, and so people can start playing with it, testing, and getting feedback to us. Okay, so but just note for now, you can edit that maintenance procedures from Flex5 now. Next on that, just really quick, I want to highlight a couple system settings things. The icon library has been added to Flex5 in here. So we see now all of the items on that. It's a little nicer, I think, in the search functionality for it, because it's more of a filterable list in this. So if I was, going to say XLR or something in there, screen, it's a lot kind of smarter and cleaner in that way. Similarly, the category, rather than that big kind of list of categories, I can just go in here and kind of filter for that. We can obviously see the one that's still spelled wrong that we need to fix. I don't know why that's lived in the system for that long. One key thing with this that is important to know is that you'll also see the ability to, like a lot of other menus in Flex5, to select items and then delete them. But you notice here as I go to try to select these, most of these are not letting me select. That AC cable is, but these wouldn't. Okay, I can also do a group select, but you'll see that it's not changing the others. What that is, and I can't really give the history, is there are a lot of the items that are in the system that are sort of considered default or kind of a system-based ones, and you can't remove them. Now, you can, if you decide you're unhappy with what they look like, you can go and change what they are, but you can't delete the icon itself. You can't delete the field of that icon. Again, I don't think that's what most people want. Most people just want to add additional ones in there, and so you can go ahead and just add additional ones, put them in, add the icon in that. So that's kind of available and nice. Keep that in mind. Not heavily used, but I do think it's one of those things. It's a little nicer in the way that it's implemented in Flex 5 than it was in Flex 4. Similarly, in talking system settings, I just want to highlight very quickly, we've added business locations and corporate identities to Flex 5. This mostly is for you just to review as far as name, if you want to have things like updating your addresses or phone number, if your office is moving, something with that in here. You do have the ability to update the logo, but I will say there's a little bit of a bug there on the business location, so stay tuned on that. We're going to try to get that fixed. This one is working properly, but it's because it was loaded in Flex 4. I can load it in Flex 5, but it has a problem with the ratio. We're going to get that fixed. If it wasn't maybe already fixed in this patch, I have to double check on that. And similarly, on the corporate identities, but its screen is slightly different where it just goes straight to this. So there's a little bit of an update there, but you can load your updated RTF documents, update some of this information, check on that. The one thing really quick I just want to highlight in this is that on both of these, you will see down here the add and the delete icons, okay? But if you go to do that, you're gonna get a flag that says this changes your subscription, and so you have to get Flex support to do this. So reach out to Flex support on that, okay? But we have left this here intentionally to help people realize that is a thing you can change. It can be added or deleted, but if you try to do it, we're gonna remind you, you don't have the permissions, you need to talk to Flex support. For a while, we were discussing just having them removed, but we felt that it was better, it was more communicative to let you see that that is a possibility to change, but then remind you that you need to reach out to us to get those changed because it also affects your subscription price. And we want to make sure that, whether you're deleting or adding, that your subscription is properly placed there. Okay, so I got those guys and I got those. So next thing, and this one's been a little bit out there a little longer, but we got crew calls implemented into the system. So you can load and see crew calls in here. For a note on this, the staffing assistant still does not work, but that is, as you can see from this, someone's testing and adding on that. It's been worked on and it should be released soon on that, but you can still go in here and look at what something is. You can fill in people manually, but the tool to automatically add someone through the staffing assistant does not work. You'll see here it's giving me some issues. In yours, it would even just say not implemented or it'd be grayed out. This one's in a slightly farther forward one to do some testing, but because of the delay in the patch, I got to do the demo from this, but kind of keep that in mind. But it is here, it runs this, we can run our reports, we can run our workflows, and we can use this to email out the people and ask them about, hey, do you want to work on this crew call? Or, hey, we've assigned you, let you know, whatever your kind of process is. So keep that in mind on there, but those are implemented in that. So you're just gonna have to do a manual process though of filling those in, or you gotta go back to Flex 4, but very soon the staffing assistant should be implemented, okay? Related to that, in here, if we now go in and open me, that I just assigned myself to this, we've added the schedule part of a contact. So it's similar if you were in Flex 4, there was a utilization tab. Now in Flex 5, you would see a calendar to show the schedule, okay? And so we'll see now that I'm on this crew call because it was there. Obviously, if there were lots of different ones, it's using the same sort of, calendar view here. From that, if I went straight to that, I could instead go back to the crew call, but we can have that ability in there. So we just see it's that schedule icon, the calendar icon on that person. Okay, so we can go through that way. Next little improvement related to contacts, and what I'm going to do instead, we're just going to go contacts, new contact. So this is an improvement, and I think it's to me not just that it's implemented in Flex 5, but it's that it's an improvement from how it worked in Flex 4 that I really like. So if in this, I'm just going to put in John Doe here, and he's connected. He's a new employee here at Flex. Okay, So we're going to put him to Flex. Oh, come on. The one that's actually the company. Listen, that's a bad demo. Because it lists, oh, this is the one I want. I got to get that. We got to talk about that thing. Okay, so that's what I want to do. This person isn't a company. We can go through and we can put in some information. If I've got a personalized email for this guy's jdoe at flexsolutions.com. But the note is in Flex4, when I, as soon as I hit this add company, it would pop up a thing to say, do you want to add phone numbers and addresses to this person? And it would just populate them into these fields. But what if there's multiple addresses or phone numbers I want to populate, or what if I want to populate additional things? So what we've changed is it doesn't do anything there, and I can fill in other information. And it is a thing you got to keep in mind, knowing how it works if you want to put anything in. But maybe I've got a mobile phone for him or an email, and this I'm just going to put an email. Then I think I'm done. Now I can hit OK. Oh, I do have to put the resource type, sorry, employee. And say, okay, then it's going to pop up and say, hey, the company has these phones, addresses, and internet. Which ones do you want to be applied to him? So I can go, oh, well, let's give him the office phone, but he doesn't really need the fax. Let's have it connect the shipping address. And, let's not attach either his emails because I put his individual email. So you have a little more control about what gets put in, what gets connected to it. So that's kind of the improvement. And then similar to in Flex4, it's then going to ask, do you want him to share the trading terms of this company? Say yes, then it will go ahead and add that person, and that data will be part of his data. So we'll see here, it added the office phone, though I didn't put any phone. It added the shipping address, but on the internet, it just put the email that I put in for him rather than any of those other emails. So small improvement, but one of those things I think is kind of nice to be cleaner in your data with those people that way. Another quick thing, this is a short because I sort of have highlighted this before. We talked briefly about if I was in a project element list that I can now run workflow from here, and we even did that work, the one where I talked about bulk workflow in a previous webinar. I just want to highlight that that similarly has been enabled on the calendar view, and so if I have one of these shows that this inquiry, and that customer calls and says it's good, then I can just go here and I can confirm it from this screen rather than having to open it and go to the workflow. I can just do it from the calendar as well. I can't do bulk from the calendar, but I can do individual workflow actions from the calendar, and that was added a couple patches ago. And then the last main thing that's been updated recently, and I know, again, this was on a small list for some people, but we do have now expense sheets are working in here. So I can go to expense sheets and pop open something that already exists and see what's in here. Note, it works slightly different in here. You have the option, there's always one blank line in this. So if you only need to add one thing, you can just click into here and then just say, bottled water. And then I can go in here and set a type. And you see that immediately adds my new thing there and put in information. Or more similar to the way it previously, you can pop up this, put in our description, our type, or whatever kind of other information, and hit add. And these will it'll stay up here until you hit cancel out if you have a bunch of lines to add to it. But otherwise basically works the same as it did before, and just kind of has that list and that ability to put in those, expenses or whatnot in there for that same data. But again, not a giant thing, but it is properly working, so you can add and edit expense sheets from there. So those are the main kind of big things. There's been some smaller things and of course some bug fixes in the past 2.5 months, but those are kind of the big new features and functionality. There's a really great new feature, well, updated, implemented in Flex5 feature that is planned for next patch, so in 2 weeks, February 11th. And I'm currently being told they're pretty sure it should be fine. It should be being released. There's no reason to delay it. And I don't want to have another meeting like this, and using it would probably, it'd take 3 minutes for me to demo it. So I'm going to give a little bit of a preview. So extra highlight, extra caveat in this. This is not in today's patch. You will not see this for 2 weeks, okay? But feature a lot of people have been asking about, and with a little twist of improvement that we think is kind of great, we've added. So I want to do a quick little demo to this, okay? So I'm going to close all of these. I'm going to go in here to open a quote on this. I'm going to grab, let's do this test demo AJ1. So the key is not anything with the quote, but we have added, I want to just look at the project tree really quick. Cool. Yeah, there's a bunch of things in here, but not what I want. The document upload folders have been added in here. So I can now create the document, say, yep, I want to have some documents attached to this project in this, but a little improvement, but we feel it goes a long way. So same as before, I can say, hey, I want to upload a new thing. I can hit to upload, and I can go browse my system in here. I was doing a lot of maintenance report fixing yesterday, but we just say, hey, I'm doing this shipping manifest, and I just want to upload that. You notice here there's a third field of URL, okay? And as soon as I upload a file, it grays out and I can't do anything with it. It's because, so I can still upload this to the system, okay? And it will have that there. But what if instead you have a document file, a Dropbox, a Google Drive system that you use internally in your company, and that's where you tend to store files. And so what you'd rather just do is reference to that. So of a simple way, and this may be improved in the future, but if I have that, I can just go in my system here, and I'm just going to go really quick in my system, and I've got my project folders here. So I've got this big demo project. So if let's say this, which of course this is not exactly the kind of document, but if I wanted to just reference this, this is inside my Google Drive, my stored there, and I have it stored locally, but I can just go in here and say, hey, I want to be able to share it. So let me get the link on this to this specific document. And then I can go back here and add, and rather than uploading the file, I can just post that link to the Google Drive. On that, I could still put in some notes if I wanted, or I can just go ahead and add. And now the people have the ability to click to go and see that document, okay? So there's that sheet in here, okay? Now it's still properly controlled by the permissions of that document. So if someone else has access to your Flex, but they don't have access to that, then they would just get you don't have permissions to view this, or whatever, Google or Dropbox properly does. Similarly though, what if on top of that, it's not just that you have a document, but you have a bunch of documents? Well, I don't want to have to upload by 10 different things, but instead I just want to go, hey, I've got my project folder and I want people to know where the project folder is for this. Well, I can similarly get the link to this, and I can go in here and I can say, hey, here's the link to the folder. Okay. Now at that point, I can just click that, and it's going to take me to the folder and the list of all the documents. Again, still controlling, Google still on this one, controlling the permissions for what it has, what it doesn't have, but I have that ability to share all of that information. Technically, as a URL, you can list whatever you want in there. I've been looking around for seeing what other people, maybe you had a video as part of a reminder of the concept of, hey, this is what we did last year, and we have this posted on our YouTube page. I can put a YouTube URL. I can put whatever I want in here, and it's just going to store that URL link rather than being a place to store the documents. And the nice thing with that is, you see when I click to the documents, they're opening in these other tabs in a more of a preview, because Google manages to do that. Dropbox can do that. But on this one, it's just I click this and then it downloads the document, because we don't have the ability to do the same kind of preview. So I can see a lot of people kind of wanting to utilize more of that URL feature or functionality, but it still works where you can upload documents with the same restrictions. And that is one other thing, is that there are size restrictions to this. So if you maybe have the full CAD file on this and it won't load, but again, you have it stored on your files, you can put the link to where it is stored for you and your team. So this project has these files related to it, you don't have to then, stick to any restrictions that Flex has with that. So that's just the key thing. Like I said, that's planned to be released in next patch, the .35 patch, which should be on February 11th. That's just one of kind of the new features, as I kind of did a sort of preview, but not showing anything. But we have the scheduled maintenance coming up soon. And when we have that released to customers, I will do a full webinar on that functionality. I really appreciate everybody showing up. Always, like to see all the same faces here on that. Like I said, we've got a couple of kind of nice things coming down the pipe, and so we should have that, scheduled maintenance to talk about in the near future. Like I said, in the 2 weeks from now patch, you'll get that documents upload feature that I know has been asked about a lot. Think good on that. And otherwise with that, thank you so much for your time, and everyone have a great day.